classy, British, and a little bit rubbish. You want reliability? Well, this is not the car company or even country for you to come to for that, especially during this period. What we do, however, offer is excitement. Presenting the Bi-Turbo, the world's first turbo car. When you think of turbochargers, you probably rightfully think of Japanese. But the first turbo was actually on an American Oldsmobile, which really doesn't seem quite right, does it? In 1962 and 1963, Oldsmobile built a turbocharged version of the 215, which is a 3.5 litre, so that's an odd one. Out of this, they got 5 psi, and it was rated for 215 horsepower, which I don't understand how they got such a small amount of power. But anyway, we're going to try to create our own version of this type of old turbocharged cars. Now, unfortunately, the engines only start getting turbos around 1975, but we could set the year to 1963. We're going to go the 2.7 meter. It's going to be steel. It's going to be a ladder, probably, because it's American. Then front longitudinal, because I don't know if it was rear-wheel drive or front-wheel drive, but we're going to go rear-wheel drive anyway. Then we're going to go double wishbone on the front, and even though I really don't want to, we're going to go solid axle leaf on the rear. I should really stop making American cars. I hate solid axle leaf. We're going to start making our brand new engine. Now, it's not going to be a flat plane or anything. It's going to be a regular old push rod 3.5 litre engine. Cast iron, cast and cast. We don't want to go anything more than that, really. Going to leave the cam profile quite low. Now, they had a really high compression ratio, but we're going to leave that as... I can't believe that they got over a 10 compression ratio, but yet only still created such a small amount of power. I reckon naturally aspirated, I probably could have created more power. Oh yeah, this is where we now set the year of the engine to be higher. And we're going to set this to fuel economy. That is a little bit higher PSI, so we're going to drop that a bit. Now, they ran on a single barrel carburetor. Probably a single throttle body, and probably a standard intake. We're going to go with a regular leaded fuel, probably a straight through, and a straight through. Knocking. A lot of knocking, but I want to see what this engine looks like. So it reckons it's got a blow-through carburetor. So what a lot of these older cars, which I'm not sure if this is or not, what they would have done is they would have had the carburetor in front of the turbocharger. That way when the air gets sucked in, it goes through there, it cools the turbo off, it goes through here, and then it goes into the engine. Unfortunately, that has a few problems. So later, I know they used this style a lot more, but I really wouldn't have expected that. That looks wicked. I love it. Now, time to deal with this. So it's going to be running richer because it's an American car. How did they get that high of a compression ratio? Did they have to really raise the cam profile a lot? How do they have such a high compression rate? Did they run a super? You know what? I think they must have run a super fuel. 10.25 to 1 compression ratio. My goodness. Problems with in development, the high compression ratio combined with the charged load created problems with spark knock. No shit. On hard throttle applications, which led Olds to develop and utilize a novel water injection system. Oh, okay. Yes, I do know about water injection system. Unfortunately, we don't have that option. Oh, it turns out that a lot of people had problems with them and the water injection system and just had it removed and had a 4-barrel carburetor system installed. And looks like they removed the turbo in that place. Oh, apparently a Corvair had the first turbo, but only by a couple of weeks, so... whatever, we're just gonna create our own thing. Now we got 120 kilowatts, which is about getting close to where we need to be. You know what? Since we're doing our own thing, we're gonna say that this is... It's gonna be a Euro car now. Screw it. I love mechanical injection. Now, for those of you that don't know the difference between electronic and mechanical fuel injection, electronic fuel injection measures things like intake, speed, volume, all that kind of stuff, measures throttle position, and puts it through a computer and does a whole bunch of calculations along with a lot of the time nowadays having a sensor in the exhaust to make sure that it's keeping the correct thing. What mechanical fuel injection was this big distributor looking thing most of the time. So it would be run off of the RPM of the engine, so that's how it would get more fuel during its higher rev range compared to its lower rev range. And then it would have two more things. So generally in around where the airbox would be, there'd be an air dam, and as the air would rush past that dam, it would open up that flap, and that would show how much air is getting into the engine, and that would affect the fuel distribution amount of fuel that it's getting. On top of that, there'd be... Wait, hold on. No, fuel distribution is here. Sorry, that's spark plug. My bad. Fuel distribution is here as part of the thing. And it does still look a little bit like a distributor. My bad. The throttle body, though, also did have a slight effect on it, but not as much as the air dam and the RPM. It was rather an elegant system. It was all mechanical and it was all tunable quite easily without having to use any expensive computer stuff because you really could just tune it with a screwdriver. They were also fairly reliable, especially when Volvo got their hands on it. They did a really good job, and that system was ironclad. It was so good. Unfortunately, compared to modern electric systems, it is a very rich running type of fuel injection. So it wasn't perfect. It was considerably better than carburetors, but I love the idea of it. It was so good. Such a good idea. Anyway, I'm gonna stop splurging over what we're doing here. So here I've tuned the ratio turbo kick-in to be just beyond, say, the 2000-ish RPM mark. So then that way, if you're cruising, you're not going to be in the turbo range. Actually, you know what? We're going to raise that even more. So it's still running at about 5 PSI, but at cruising RPM kind of limits, so if you're running at a higher speed, you're still not going to be in the turbo boost range. You only really start to get the turbo boost range around here. So, fuel economy standards, whilst also generating quite a nice bit of power. As you can see here, the boost really does kick in at 2700 RPM, so we're doing a pretty good job there of making sure that we're not generating boost too early. Now here's another thing I'm going to do. Because it's in the knocking range, I'm just going to bring it down to not just to where it's like peak power, but I'm going to bring it back a little bit more to help prevent knock, which is something which a lot of these sort of places would do. And actually, you know what? They may even drop an entire ratio of compression, which takes us from 10 to 9.9. And now we're going to listen to our brand new turbo engine. Oh, nice. I like it a fair bit. I was about to say that maybe I could remove a muffler, but these are meant to be like comfort cars, so we're going to leave that on. And now we're going to move on to making it look good. We might actually make a luxury European, nearly limo type car. The cheaper limo. You know, no, I changed my mind. This looks terrible. I hate it. And then when I try to shorten up the boot, it looks like that. Like, what the hell? What is... It already looks like it's been in an accident. Oh, that's pretty bad. There is nothing I can do here. This is just a not finished car model. So we're going to stretch that out a little bit to help clean up that mess of a tailgate. Okay. Really? Really? Ugh, okay, fine. Rear wheel drive. Manual, probably. Automatic, probably not. You know what? Nah, it will be a manual. And it'll probably be a 4-speed. This is a very lovely British kind of sports car. So this one is going to be under our Ace brand that we had before. Or was it ABC? I can't remember. I think it might have been ABC. The automotive braking company. I don't remember actually what I went with for the name, and I think I edited it out when I did it because it was just cringe and boring. So radial, we're going to go a medium compound, fairly large, but not ginormous. Actually, you know what, probably even narrower than that. Get it a bit offset, a little bit of offset on the front too. Not magnesium wheels, this is going to be way too expensive for this car. 14 inches? No, probably 13 inches, because this is still going to be trying to be an affordable car. We're going to go solid disc on the front, one piston, then drums on the rear with probably still a sizable size. 5 seats all the way around with a standard kind of setup. It'll be a basic AM, you know what, actually probably a standard AM radio for this one, because you are going for the turbo version. And now I know that a lot of the British medium-sized cars didn't really have turbos or anything really special on. They're all very basic cars. But this is kind of like, I don't know, maybe I should have made something more like a Lotus. No power steering because this is in the 60s, and it's going to have standard 50s safety, standard springs, and everything else there is really. And we're going to go with a normal ride, because there is a lot of really choppy and mean roads out there. We don't want to have too much trouble with that. We will reach that balance there, where the drivability and sportiness are right next to each other, because the British really did care a lot about handling characteristics of cars. They also cared about being light. Now, this vehicle is a little bit heavy, but I think it's acceptable in its heaviness. Let's have a look at our brakes. Oh, no. Oh, this is pretty bad. Maybe we will go for a 14-inch, even though that's getting to be a little bit more expensive. And we'll make the tires a bit bigger to still keep it quite comfortable. Up those sizes, see what we got going on here. And, oh dear, maybe we'll go with a harsher brake pad, because that's also very common for a British car. This is bad. This is really bad. Well, we're just going to have pretty measly brakes by the looks of it, and I refuse to go to solid discs on the rear, because I've been told off so many times for reaching for the thing that I shouldn't reach for. Okay, so we're dealing with rear brake forces low, the car's weight and lack of power steering, the car has issues with wheel spin, the clearance on the side of the engine is getting narrow. I don't think any of those are a real problem. I think we're ready to just go ahead and make it look pretty. Let's see what this bad boy can do in a lap. 2 minutes 39. So here we have the 1960, I think I said it's 1963, the 1963 bi-turbo from ABC. Now you may notice that this car is brandishing the same badge as the Algebra car. And that's because I didn't have any other British brands, so I thought, you know what? We're going to allow there to be a British version here. Now, I've thrown many things away in this video, which include the fact that this is going to be an American muscle car, a proper, I don't know, a proper car I was about to say, but it is a proper car, I don't know. I couldn't get this lined up quite right. There's many things that I'm just not quite happy enough with. Though, overall, I think the car looks okay. I think most of the problem is the fact that the body itself just can't be formed properly. Many of the lines become really janky and wobbly due to the weird bone mechanics that's in the car. So yeah, let's go take this over to BeamNG and see how the first ever turbo car in the world runs. You know what? It was spelled the Ace, not the ABC. My bad! Well, there's the comparison of the two cars. And I decided this time, I wasn't quite sure exactly how to do it, but last time I did a split front thing, and this time I decided to do it split but vertically. And I don't know, I think it's turned out pretty okay. We didn't go with a side thing because that's not really a 60s thing, that really started more in the 70s. Even if that one is kind of set in that period. Probably could have done something similar with the lights, but I kind of forgot what I'd done with the lights. And we've also got a bit of chassis not inside of car type problem here, which I wish wasn't an issue. But what you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? I'm sorry, let's move on. Oh boy! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god, this thing has so much power. Not even trying very hard, the thing just did a burnout the entire time. So yes, I know I've come to America as opposed to Italy, but this has some very interesting roads that I'd like to check out. Now, this car, back in the day, would have been exploited for one particular thing. Yes, that's right. The British love rally. Can you see through the boot of my car? What the hell? What is that? What's that? Anyway, drive on. Okay, so now we're gonna give this thing a full bootload. Oh, okay, maybe not a full bootload because, oh, this car really does get quite sideways. Oh, you know what? Quite controllable. Ah, what was that log doing there? Let's avoid that log this time around. You got somebody with like pure skill here. I mean, not good skill, but skill nonetheless. Haha! Let's just get this straightened back up and put it back on the road. We'll edit that out, I suppose, and make me look like I'm a really good driver. Or unless there's nothing that editing could do to fix my driving abilities. Once this thing starts getting a little bit sketchy, it really doesn't want to come back under control. It's really quite not so great. Oh no! Oh! Yeah, you know what? Maybe not so bad. Except that, and apparently we're turning this way now, which is not something I was trying to do. I don't think I've ever been around this area. And this is not very much a rally track because rally stages had... Is my suspension collapsed on the one side? What's going on here? Yeah, no, this is not a rally stage. One, because it's really short, and two, because it's very bouncy. And rally stages were not particularly quite so bouncy. Yes, they had... Oh boy. Oh dear, that hasn't affected us too much. We're still pretty good. We're doing all right. Oh, no wonder I couldn't find this rally road for a really long time. I went under the road that I was on. Let's just pretend that I'm better at this whole racing thing than what it seems. And we're going to stick in second gear this entire time. Oh, there's a turn here. No, okay, well, we're not going for that turn, apparently. That turn is just long gone. And then no checking for traffic because we don't give a... Damn it. Yeah, we didn't crash. I don't know what you're talking about. We're absolutely fang-dangly fine with rallying. Oh man, this would be a really fun rally stage. I kind of want to... Oh! Whoa! Ripped that tire off this solid axle. We're going to just see what this car is like to cruise with. So they implemented in the 70s the... I believe it was a 70 mile... Or maybe it was the 80s, the 70 mile an hour speed limit. But that meant before then, they had really high top speeds. But once again, they were not American roads. Oh dear. And they didn't have autobahns either. Let's just ignore the fact that I crashed. So we're going to be on the back roads trying to figure out what a realistic top speed for this era would be. And we're getting to about 130, 140. Oh boy. Oh no. Okay. Well, we're going onto the dirt, guys. Hey, look, we're doing rally again. That was deliberate and a choice that I made all on my own. Oh, look, a bitumen road. Bitumen road. Let's do this. Oh yes, here we go. Nice safety of bitumen. Nothing can go wrong here, right? Ah, shit. Let's try to find out what our top speed would be. Come on. Anybody would think that cars from the 60s don't handle as well as cars from the modern era. Wow, what a thought. I wonder if this would be a lot better if I put double wishbones on the rear. Let's just say that I was going this way. I wonder if that double wishbone would allow the camber to correct the caster. Well, pretty much everything, and just help me keep it in control. Because currently, this is pretty sketchy when we get to top speeds. I mean, not even top speeds. At 100, this thing starts becoming sketchy. Like, my goodness, this thing is actually scary. We're going 130. And I'd better hope that I don't come up to a corner because this thing becomes a nightmare. So we see a corner, we're going to slow down a little bit. We're going to try to ease it around. We've scrubbed off quite a lot of speed. We've gone to 120, 130 kilometers an hour. And if you want to know what that is, just divide these speeds by 1.6. I think that's right. Whatever. And you'll get a direct conversion to your Neolithic speeds. Damn it! Let's test the durability of this car. Let's see if it can actually make it to where we need it to go. And floor it! And... Oh, we made it! Yes! Oh dear. Wow, actually, you know what? Looks pretty good in white. And we've also come to the old racetrack. The idea here is this is an older car, so it wouldn't really get tested up against other cars of newer models. So we're going to keep this with the older cars going around the older track. Oh, come on, get turned. Get turned. And we're going to quickly switch over to realistic so we can stop that issue of it selecting the wrong gear all the time. And just try to cruise around as much as possible in second gear. Because first gear is for taking off like a nanny. Whereas right now we want to... even in second gear, this thing will start getting wheel spin. We're going to slow down here for this corner. Oh, yep. Go for the old bowl here. where, yes, once again, not going to put it into first gear because first gear just becomes really too uncontrollable. Now this corner is going to tell us whether this car is terrible. Okay, it's not terrible, it's just, it has some particular problems going over crests. Aside from that, this thing is doing pretty well, and we're going to start slowing down for this. We're going to lose a little bit of traction. We're going to try to either speed up a little bit more, and go around this corner. See, that corner is really a bit of a balancing act. You want to brake at the beginning to make sure you don't go too off camber, and then you want to accelerate again to speed up to the next part of the corner, and go from there. Ooh, a 123. That's really fast, considering the thing has, like, minuscule tires. So it loses out to the Chris C. Diddy, which that one was actually a lot faster than what I was expecting it to be. A 1950s car, I think this one is. So yeah, that is impressive that it beat us out, but then again, this one's not really tuned and lightweight and all that kind of stuff. It's just kind of like a mid-sports car with way too much power, which is something the British really got down pat in the late 80s to early 90s. Then it beats out the 1946 car, which is the one from the Ferrari Challenge series again. Wins against Twin Turbo's car challenge that I did by quite a large amount. And the last one was also Twin Turbo's challenge car that I did. So yeah, we've got ourselves in a nice bit of company here. It's not fantastic, and it's not really bad, since the only car that really beat it was a supercar, even if it was from a decade earlier. Not a whole lot of advances would have been made, really. Now let's change this configuration to be the full race circuit, because I do actually want to see what this thing handles like on corners in the way in which I have a baseline for. I want to see primarily how it does down the back straight. Oh, I could have changed the color. Whoops. Okay, we're going to switch over to realistic. We're going to try to take off in first gear. And it just does a burnout the entire time. We're going to slow down for this corner, and we're out of turbo range, so we're just going to switch it down, and we're going to ease on that first gear acceleration, then switch it to second gear, and just let it control us around here. Getting a little bit of a drift, but that is really just, it's just okay. We're not going to complain too much about the second gear wheel spin, because if it's getting that much wheel spin in second gear, third gear is going to bring our RPM down too much, and we're going to have problems. Oh, get turned. Get turned. We're going to go into the first gear, because we're going to need to accelerate out of here. And how does it handle out of here? It handles quite nicely out of here. And we are going to short shift, but we are within turbo range, so we're not going to look at gift horse in the mouth, of which this is the traction gift horse. And, oh, good, we don't have to switch down to first gear there. Wow, that RPM gauge was jittery the entire time. Oh, we've got to change up gears. Is it because I'm getting, like, micro traction slips? Is that what's happening here? Oh, we're going to get into fourth gear here. We're going to reach this at about 200. And we're going to see how this handles this corner. At 200? Oh. Actually, it handled it quite well. Really smooth. And I really thought that it would have had more power going through there. Oh, no! Don't worry, guys, we can keep going. We're going to switch down to second gear. We're going to... No, okay, first gear. And get all of the wheel spin that we didn't want beforehand. But that's fine. Try to get that power to push through. Push through with the power, please. There we go, second gear, third gear along here, which is pretty decent. Start slowing down. We got to deal with really quite shoddy brakes, and the fact that the guy has suffered some severe damage. But then again, British cars and getting damaged, well, that's what you kind of expect from a British car in a race. They crashed a lot, and a lot of people died, and a lot of people didn't care. It was such a weird time. Old race cars are like, people are dying like every weekend in race cars. We should do something about that. And then when like helmets came out, they're like, nah, bruh, doesn't seem like a good idea. Let's just avoid that one altogether. But I really don't know what it was that was the turning point, but it really was the British that kind of led the way with things like the helmet. Didn't change the fact that still a lot of people were dying in England in races. It was just a very strange, peculiar time of cars where safety was not really that important. Then you bump like 30 to 40 years into the future, and this happens.
Oh my god, the Mercedes.
So yeah, safety, I suppose you could say, has never really been a particularly important issue when it comes to racing. I don't know what I'm talking about. But we did just do a 2 minutes, well, basically, we're just going to say what it is. That's a 3-minute lap. Not particularly great, but we did go off the track twice, one of which was to have a pretty fair, decent accident and still had a third of the race left to go. So we're not going to shun this car too much. It did beat out things like the electric city car that we just made, but not by a whole lot. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. I'll catch you next time in my trike.